Struggle veterans, the guest of honor at Genadendal, and a birthday party for Rebecca Kotane, who turns 102 today. Kotane is the wife of the late struggle veteran Moses Kotane. She was flanked by Martha Mahlangu. Her son Solomon was executed by the apartheid regime. To matters of state, the president said he was ready to report back to the nation after 5 years at the helm.
I think this honor given to me by South Africans to be able to give the State of the Nation address is very big. It's an honor that you need to execute with everything in you to ensure that you tell the country where we are going and what has been happening. So I am ready to do so tomorrow.
The president is expected to highlight successes of his administration. The adoption of the National Development Plan, infrastructure programs, education and health will form part of his address. President Zuma is also likely to outline steps to address economic challenges, unemployment and poverty. Service delivery protests are also likely to feature prominently. Mzwandile Mbethe, SABC News, Cape Town.
Well, we now cross to the SABC's contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko, who's in our parliamentary studio in Cape Town. Vuyo, a very good evening to you.
Evening, Peter.
Right, all eyes on Parliament for Thursday night's presidential State of the Nation address. Do you get a sense that this is the most anticipated SONA in the democratic era?
I don't think there's any doubt about that because a lot has been said about President Jacob Zuma and his ability to steer the country in the direction that people are expecting him to. And this, of course, being an election year, there's double the focus, if you like, because everyone looks to hear from him. The current administration, as you will recall, had a list of 5 what President Zuma calls apex priorities, which among them is land, education, health, land, but also, and perhaps most importantly, the economy and jobs. And over the years, of course, there have been report backs. Remember, around 2011, there was a kind of report back as to what was happening there, but there were also injections, money from the IDC, about 10 billion or so. There was also a 9 billion rands that was set aside specifically to create jobs. There were lots of incentives given to companies to actually help them create jobs. The social dialogue was upped to make sure that all constituencies, labor, big business, also come to the party. Have those initiatives yielded any fruits? I think the quick answer to that is that not really, certainly not to the extent that it was expected. In fact, far from it. The question then is he then going to be able to, one, admit that in fact not much progress has been made, certainly not to the extent that the government would have wanted to. And the big question, of course, being what then? Or what does the government have in store to make sure that beyond this point there is a great deal of improvement in that regard? This happening, of course, at a time when you are seeing the labor unrest especially in the Platinum Belt, which is not good news, because that was one sector, if you go back to around 2011, that created some jobs, mining, of course, in particular, the mining, the gold mining industry specifically. So what is it going to be this time? We had surveys being conducted over the past year. You also heard what the Standard Bank economists had to say a day or two ago. So things are not looking good. You have Nigeria increasingly set to going to overtake South Africa as the biggest economy on the continent. So that mix of things really puts a lot of pressure on President Jacob Zuma tomorrow to actually come up with something that South Africans would not have had before.
And when you talk about pressure, obviously people are watching news every night, reading newspapers and listening to radio, and the social unrest, the protests, service delivery protests, however they're being described, must be something at the top of his mind. And I'm sure there'll be people wanting to know or wanting comment on that from him?
Oh, certainly. And I don't think people are interested in an academic debate about if we know the causes, then let's deal with that. And the question is, how do you stop them? Because they are destroying property, lives are being lost. And in the process, I think questions are being and will continue to be asked about the role of law enforcement agencies, in particular the police, who have not covered themselves in glory during this episode. Are they a law unto themselves? Or are they, you saw the leader of the opposition in that insert that played earlier saying the police were standing by, they didn't do anything even though the ANC was breaking the law. In other words, to what extent does President Jacob Zuma stand up tomorrow and give South Africans confidence that everything is in fact under control, that the state as law enforcement agencies are not in anyone's pocket, including that of the governing party? But people are no longer sort of prepared to hear what, for example, what the Minister of Police has been saying, that we have the best police, best trained, and they're doing a good job. Thank you very much. So all those things would need to be addressed. In other words, President Jacob Zuma will have to stand there confidently and give the country marching orders and say, these are the problems, this is how we got where we are today, and this is how we are going to make sure that as the political leadership of this nation, these things are not going to happen again ever.
All right, very briefly, because we've run out of time. Will this affect any undecided voter tomorrow? How important is the speech?
Well, I mean, tomorrow is the State of the Nation address. Really, it is not supposed to be a partisan occasion. So hopefully the president will rise above sort of narrow, if you like, party political interest or to secure, try to secure or to win votes for his political party, to talk about issues affecting this nation and how he, as the head of state and as the head of this nation, what it is that his government is going to be doing in the interests of all, in the interest of the entire nation, to make sure that we're a stable democracy where the rule of law is upheld. And I think that has to be the most important message coming through. And over and above that, how we as a nation, all of us, should be playing our respective parts in from all our corners to make sure that this nation works the way it is supposed to do.
Okay. Contributing editor William Volkert speaking to us from our Cape Town studios.